Hello and welcome to SoCal Prep Report. I'm your host, Randy Rosenblum, along with Tarek. We have a busy show. We're going to honor Fred Roggin a little later in the program. He's stepping down from KNBC. What he's done to his number of years of great sports in the prep world. We're going to talk to Matt Dunn, the fine coach at St. John Bosco, who engineered a fabulous comeback just last night in prep basketball. His Braves came from 21 down at halftime to knock off Mater Dei. Got some other things. We're going to talk to Morrisette about a huge soccer match we're going to have on our air and our Pacific Surfliner match. It's going to be a great one on Monday, San Pedro hosting Cerritos. But first, we bring in an expectant father. Tarek of the Daily News. Congratulations to you and Brianna.
I feel like this is like an old school way to kind of just like, you know, commemorate great congratulations. Yeah, man, we're excited. She's due July. She's basically through her first trimester. We don't know if it's a boy or a girl. Actually, technically, the doctors know, so to speak. We have the information, but we don't know if it's a boy or a girl. So we're going to wait a little bit longer and probably find an excuse to get together and do like some type of corny gender reveal, and that'll be that.
You married a beautiful woman, by the way. Brianna's sweet.
I'm hoping boy or girl, whatever comes out, it looks more like Bree than it does me.
And we want it to be healthy. That's
and I think we're thinking Randy.
Are you really? Randy's in play.
Yeah, yeah.
Because of me?
No.
But Randy is in play.
No.
Randy's not in play. All right, speaking of commitments, because you're committed to your wife and the newly born, we had a basketball player who is decommitting, and Brady Dunlap from Harvard Westlake, terrific player. He's got his Wolverines, #1 in the state. They're a phenomenal team. And Brady's not going to go to Notre Dame. That's where he was headed, but Mike Bray stepped down. He's going to retire at the end of the year from his number of great years for the Fighting Irish. So in play is Brady Dunlap.
Yeah, not only is he a nice, you know, the Brady Dunlap sweepstakes is now reopened. You know, I know UCLA came and watched him last night. Mick Cronin was in the arena. I know Darren Savino, the assistant coach, is going to be at the Nike Extravaganza on Saturday. They'll probably watch them again. They're probably watching Trent Perry, too, the junior guard. But Brady Dunlap's been recruited heavily by San Diego State. They've kind of been on him since the beginning. So I feel like that's a program that really has a good chance of getting him.
Let's talk about the McDonald's All-American game.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about
Two guys from this area are going. One is Bronny James. The other one is Jared McCain. He's from Corona Centennial. James of Sierra Canyon, as everybody knows. And, of course, there's Juju Watkins on the girls' side from Sierra Canyon, arguably the best player in the country. She's going to play in the girls' game.
Yeah, to me, and you know, listen, Jared McCain, Bronny James, they're excellent basketball players. Juju, I think, is the future of the women's game, so those are no-brainers. But I think sometimes, at least locally, one of the biggest snubs, at least in the Daily News area, was Caleb Foster, who was an outstanding player who's going to Duke, and I just feel like he was deserving to get in, and he doesn't. So kind of an interesting selection there from the committee.
Yeah, he's going to be a teammate of Jared McCain. And you're right. I saw him play, and he plays downhill. He's a tremendous player at Notre Dame. We're going to talk a little bit about them when we get to the rankings. But we do want to talk about St. John Bosco. How on earth were they behind 40-19 on senior night at home? That is remarkable. We're going to get to Matt Dunn, and we're going to talk about that. Dunn's done a terrific job there over 8 years. They've won a couple state titles. He's won at another school. He's won a state title at Bosco. And we're going to bring in the coach right now. What a job he has done, however.
Yeah, everyone knows St. John Bosco is one of the top programs in Southern California, and I think they're dead-on pick for an open division berth this year. So they'll always be a tough out and have a chance to win the division.
All right, let's talk to the genius who orchestrated this comeback last night. You were down 40-19. You go into the locker room. What do you tell your guys, and how did you turn it around?
Yeah, I certainly wasn't a genius in the first half, that's for sure. You know, I was telling somebody last night, it was pretty remarkable how calm our guys were at halftime. I went in and I kind of expected them to be pretty fired up and maybe even a little bit upset with each other, and they were great. You know, they kind of had a determined mindset, and you know, everybody keeps asking what were the magic words, and there really weren't any. It was just kind of we needed to make a couple adjustments, I thought, offensively, and you know, we have really good players, and that obviously helps. But to come from behind against that program and those coaches, and that's a pretty remarkable accomplishment by our players.
Yeah, Mater Dei wins the Trinity League every year for over 3 decades, and they're not going to win it this year. You guys are in the driver's seat, undefeated in the league. But again, You stepped it up in the third quarter and outscored them big, 23-5. What happened to that quarter that said, hey, suddenly we're taking the game over?
Yeah, we've been a great defensive team for the last half of the year, but I thought in the first half our offense wasn't letting our defense have a chance, and so we were able to kind of extend our pressure a little bit, and high school basketball is a funny game. If you get a little bit of momentum, funny things happen, and we started making shots, and they missed a couple, and I was hoping to be down by 10 going into the fourth, so to be able to cut it all the way to 3 was better than we hoped for, and then that gave us a great chance in the fourth quarter.
Coach, I don't have the stats off the top of my head, but I know you have been an open division team plenty times before. I always feel like you have to come to Sierra Canyon, too. I'm always in Chatsworth and at St. John Bosco playing Sierra Canyon. But, kind of chipping away, and now you're kind of a mainstay for that division. Everyone thinks of the usual suspects, and you're starting to be one of those teams for that level of basketball. How proud are you to be kind of in that elk of teams that is expected to be in the open division every year?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. One of my main goals I always say is I don't want to have a good team. I want to have a great program. And I think those are two different things. And if we're fortunate enough to make the Open this year, that'll be 5 out of 6 years we've made it. And obviously it gives us a chance to compete with the very best. And you mentioned we've been out to Sierra Canyon a few times. We've seemed to have had our share of road games in the Open division. So we're hoping at some point to get to play a couple at home. But either way, I think it's the best tournament in the United States. And it's one we want to be a part of. And that's why kids come to St. John Bosco, is they want to have a chance to play the best teams around. And right now we're in a great position to do that, but we have 3 really tough road games to go. So hopefully we can hang on.
Take it one step further. In your time in the Open division, what seems to be the common denominator for victories in that pool play setup?
Well, I think the biggest difference between the Open division and any other division I've ever played in is every player on the court is really good. At other levels, there's usually a guy you can help off of. There's a guy maybe you don't have to guard, or a guy you can pick on a little bit. And in the Open division, that just doesn't exist. I think some of it's momentum, the team that's playing the best at the time. And then ultimately, I think you got to have great players. And you ask what do the games come down to? A lot of times it comes down to the best player. And whichever kind of best player makes plays at the end. And, I think that's been it. And we've been able to win a few of them. We'd like to win a few more. And we're going to need our players to be great to do that.
You have a lot of best players, so that's a luxury. And I want to talk about one of them in particular. We know that LJ Harrington is a guy that I know UCLA and others are looking at. But Jack Turner, who's going to Loyola of Chicago, is an intriguing prospect. Tell us about him.
Yeah, Jack is, and you're right, we are lucky. We have a lot of players. I think we probably have 7 or 8 Division I players by the time they're done, and that's a great thing, but it's also a challenging thing. There's a lot of sacrifice going on in a program like ours, and so I'm proud of all of our guys for that. And but specifically to Jack, I always say Jack was born to score. He just has an innate ability to score baskets, and that's what Loyola Chicago loves about him, and that's what we love about him. And but I'm that's kind of what he's known for. I'm most proud. He's really grown as a player. His defense has just changed dramatically in the last year. His ability to get others involved in terms of his passing has been great. So he's doing a great job developing into a full-time player and a kind of affecting the game in a lot of ways. And obviously to play in a program like Loyola Chicago, that's something you have to be able to do.
Matt, my last question for you, and I always ask coaches this. There's always, with every new team, especially in high school, right, you get kind of this cycle of players, and there's always goals to achieve. But when you get to the Open division, you can't just be happy to be there. You got to try and win those games, obviously. Is there an approach or a mindset you talk to with your players? Like, hey, guys, reaching the Open division, that's just the beginning. Now we got to compete to win the thing. Do you talk about that with your team?
Yeah, I think obviously the first goal is to make the Open division, and I always say, like, why show up if you don't think you're going to win? So we want to give it a great shot, and but the reality is in the format we now play in, only one of the best 8 teams ever gets a chance to win, and maybe 5-10 years ago, 4 or 5 of us of those 8 teams probably would have been in different divisions, and we would have all had a chance to win, and so I think you got to be realistic to understand that there's some incredibly great teams that aren't going to win a championship. But you're right. I mean, if you make the tournament, the goal is to win it. And the format's a little bit different in terms of the pool play and those kind of things. But I think probably for the first time, maybe the second time, we have a team this year that is talented enough to make a run at it. And we'll have to play well, and we'll have to get lucky, and all those kind of things. But I love our group, and we're young and probably at times a little still growing and maturing. But this is a group I think has a great chance to hold our own when we get there for sure.
Well, before you get to the Open Division, you still have to finish off the Trinity League, which has been dominated by Mater Dei, the team you knocked off for the second time this year. Congratulations on knocking off the Monarchs twice, and best of luck in finishing off the Trinity League. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. And Tarek, congratulations on the little one. As a parent of 3 myself, that's an incredible thing. So enjoy the process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. We appreciate it, and good luck the rest of the way. All right.
Appreciate it.
I've always liked Matt Dunn. He's a cool guy, and he gets a great group together, and they play hard.
Yeah, he really is one of the best, and I love that he said not just having a good team, but a great program. And when you think about coaches that have great programs and are great coaches, I think of guys like Harvey Catani. I think of guys like David Rabibo, Doug Mitchell, and Matt Dunn is certainly one of those.
Yeah, he really does a nice job. And, of course, Gary McKnight at Mater Dei has had an illustrious career. All right, we're going to step out. We're going to hear from our friends at Pacific Surfline, and then we're going to come back and take a look at the top 10 for the girls and the boys. That's next on SoCal Prep Report.
Has always been a land of discovery. From historic gems to iconic beaches to top attractions. Let the Amtrak Pacific Surfliner be part of your journey as you explore more of the place we call home. Reconnect with the communities you love most, with the people you love most. Isn't it time you rediscovered Southern California?
And welcome back. We're going to really get into some basketball talk. Now, had a lot to hear from Matt Dunn. That was terrific stuff from St. John Bosco and that remarkable win last night over Mater Dei. But it's now time for our top 10 presented by Pacific Surfliner for the girls. And you know what? It's exactly the same as last week. The only thing different, everybody on that board won games. Nobody lost.
Yeah, I think, again, I just don't see it being any different than Sierra Canyon and Etiwanda at the end of the season. But, you play to win. Sage Hill's certainly talented. I like Marlboro. They've got 2 really good seniors. Lusinger, Westchester. I always got to give a shout out to Granada Hills Charter because I think that's the team in the city that's going to contend with Westchester for an Open Division title.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Granada Hills has got a terrific record. Westchester's got the better record right now in the city section, but it does look like a collision course for the Highlanders and the Comets in the city section. All right, let's turn our attention to the boys. There was some movement here. Harvard Westlake had the big win over Sierra Canyon on our air in the Pacific Surfliner game of the week. They're 24-1. Corona Centennial is lingering. Jared McCain's playing great basketball. But I want to drop down to Notre Dame. I see that they've moved up principally because they beat a big boy from Northern California.
Yeah, Notre Dame, that's the team everyone's, I wouldn't say fearful of, but you're concerned about them because I saw them last night. They only beat Crespi without one of their top scorers by 8 points. But when that ball begins to move and that team plays together, holy guacamole, it's really, really good. Caleb Foster, Dusty Stromer, and Mercy Miller. So really, really talented team that is very capable. And last thing I'll say about Notre Dame and Sierra Canyon, I think only one of those 2 teams is going to get into the Open Division. And they play each other at Pauley Pavilion on Friday, and they could play each other again in the Mission League tournament. So they could play themselves in and play themselves out, if you catch my drift.
I do. By the way, Harvard Westlake on top. I want to throw out a shout-out to Trent Perry, who had a triple-double last night in that win over Chaminade. We talk so much about Brady Dunlap, but Trent Perry, underclassman, terrific talent. And down here at Foothill, they have a great player in Carlo Billings. He's a guard who's been wonderful, as has Jimmy Baker at Etiwanda. So that's our group, our top 10 from Pacific Surfliner. Now it's time to talk some soccer. We have an unbelievable matchup on our air. It's going to be Cerritos out of the Southern section. They're a D4 team, one of the top D4 teams in the Southern section, in the top 8. They have a wonderful record. That's going to be the matchup Monday against San Pedro. San Pedro is 18-1. Cerritos is 16-0-2. So we bring in our soccer guru, Connor Morrisette. He's going to be doing the analytical work on Monday. So, Connor, match these guys up for it. They are ladies, so I probably shouldn't say guys. Match these teams up. Match these teams up for us. What do we expect Monday afternoon at 4:30 when we're live on our air?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Randy and Tarek. Congratulations. Great to see you. I think this is going to be a fantastic game. You look at Cerritos, like you said, 16-0-2 on the year. They're led by Kristen Mijares, who won the 605 League MVP a season ago. So obviously she has a lot of talent. Great goal scorer, but also tracks back and plays defense. For San Pedro, a really strong defensive team, even though they can score as well. They're led by Juliana Sutrin, their keeper. It's a great battle of keepers, too, because Cerritos goalie Sofia Arancibia is also very talented. So I'm expecting just a high-level game, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's two great programs, two programs with chances to win their first ever CIF crowns this year, so they'll both be hungry, and two programs who will want to end league play undefeated, and they'll both have a great chance to do that. This is a key non-league game for the two squads.
Yeah, San Pedro's been to the finals 8 previous times, but they've been knocked off all those times by teams like El Camino and Chatsworth, all those powerhouse teams, Granada Hills from the San Fernando Valley. This could be the year, the number one, that they could get over the hump. They have a young lady, Mariah Bumgarner. You heard Madison Bumgarner. They're related. So does she have that kind of talent? I think she does. She had a hat trick the other day. So Mariah Bumgarner might be the greatest Bumgarner in the family. Who knows?
Yeah, and everything I've heard about her, Randy, is that she is a fantastic leader. So you mentioned the hat trick. Of course, she's a great player as well, but the leadership that she brings to San Pedro is so important. And I know we'll talk about her a lot before the game, during the game, and maybe even after the game if she is able to repeat what she did last week with that hat trick against a really good Cerritos team. She's certainly a player to watch.
Connor, my question for you is a little more on a general sense. We talk so much hoops. We talk so much of the big sports, covering high school sports as you do. What's it like to just know you're going to be able to give some love to a really good soccer game?
It's awesome. And what's so great about high school soccer in Southern California, I think, is that the kids who play really want to be there, because a lot of kids who don't play, they opt to play club. And for the MLS team academies, they probably don't have much interest. And obviously they don't have much interest if they're not playing to compete with their high school teams. But all these kids, whether it's the boys and the girls side, who are there playing high school soccer, you know they want to be there. They're going to give it their all. And I've had a chance to cover some games up in the Valley. Tarek, I know you have as well. Birmingham is always so good. And covering those games, it's such a blast, because in Southern California, even if the kids who aren't playing academy, they do play high school, it's so much talent still. And you get to see a lot of kids who will go on to play in college, and then some who even will get a shot at the professional level. So not only is it a really talent-rich area, but in a high school soccer game in Southern California, you know that the kids want to be there, and they're really happy to be playing for their schools.
You know, what's interesting to me is you have San Pedro from the city section. You have Cerritos from the southern section. They've never really played. The coaches got together so they could have a battle, so they could be tested when they get into their respective playoffs. But there's really no way to predict this match, is there?
No, and I'm glad you brought that up, Randy, because both teams have scored a lot of goals against some opponents that haven't been on their level. So I don't want to come out and say it's going to be a big goal-scoring fest, because I think these two teams are so evenly matched. But just looking at their schedules, you have for Cerritos, they won their first game of the year 15-0 against Tarupa Hills, and then they've also won games 8-0, 11-0, 9-0, and 9-0. Looking at San Pedro, their biggest win, 11-0 in the Marine League over Banning. They've also won games 7-0, 9-0, 11-0, and 7-0. So I think that tells us two things. First, of course, that the teams are great in the attacking third, but also if it's a defensive game on Monday, both defenses are really, really good, because they're limiting some attacks that have put up some crazy numbers this year.
Well, Connor, I look forward to seeing you on Monday. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a great afternoon. It could have some rain, so maybe you should bring some rain gear. It's going to be a great match, though, between San Pedro and Cerritos. Look forward to seeing you on Monday.
Great. Thanks, Randy. Good to see you, Tarek, and I'll try to stay dry.
Okay. I like your coat. Maybe it'll keep you dry.
Yeah, I'm a little cold in here.
Yeah. It's going to be a terrific match Monday, and I'm glad we're going to have it on our Pacific Surfliner Game of the Week.
I'm just wondering, are you going to, when a ball hits the back of the net, are you going to kind of like go? Are you? Oh, we're gonna have to wait and see.
Wait and see. I'm not normally quite that dramatic and go
What
overboard.
if it's like an extra time game winner?
I did a city championship match many years ago that went into penalty kicks, and I got kind of excited about the penalty kicks because you could see the end. Here, when some of the goals are scored, you don't, if it's in the first half, you don't know if it's going to be the ultimate golden goal of the match. So, yeah, I could have some moments.
Yeah.
I could have some moments.
All right.
Speaking of having some moments, Fred Roggin, the dean of LA Sports, is leaving KNBC Channel 4. A few years ago, when we were all a little bit younger, Fred was at the Hall of Fame. He's emceed the LA City Section Hall of Fame for a number of years, and I think he's going to do it again this April. And Fred and I and Eric Sotheimer, who was my cohort at the time, had an opportunity to catch up with Fred, and we discussed his love of prep sports. Take this one in. This ought to be fun. Fred Roggin is going to be our host tonight at the Hall of Fame, and he's kind enough to join us. You know him from KNBC and a plethora of other jobs that he's currently doing, including radio.
First of all,
a plethora.
Thank you for the nice introduction. What are you doing here? You're just standing here looking right at the camera. You don't even move.
Here, you take the mic. I'm out of here.
It's like you're stuffed. What are you doing?
I'm stuck here with Randy. They bring me here every time he's around. So.
Look, first of all, I'm with the two guys right now that know more about prep sports in Southern California, honestly, than anyone. You have covered it for 400 years. You have called the games here for about that long as well. 500 years. No one knows more about what's going on in prep sports than the two of you in Southern California.
But I want to know what's going to happen at Calabasas High. Your son is supposed to be the starting point guard next year. Are they going to be any good?
All right, well, first of all, let me say this. Nothing has been decided yet. They're going to be good. They're going to be good. John Pilars is the coach there. You know John Pilars.
Right.
And he does a terrific job. And Jack Roggin, let me tell you what, he's getting bigger, he's getting stronger. He could go 15, 20 a game, 8, 9 assists. We're excited.
Eric, this is a blog right now. Get it out there right there. Tweet it out.
I'm going to tweet it out.
I'm not saying he's starting, Eric. I'm not saying that. That's John Pilars. That's his decision. I'm saying he'll be good.
You get to host tonight. I know you did the last one. What do you love about this particular job?
You know what? Doing this means more to me than almost anything I do. And I get asked to do a lot of stuff.
Right.
And I really don't do a lot of it. Because this is the grassroots. I always say, and I'll say tonight, you were the stars before people knew you would be stars. You were the people that grew up here that helped continue the legacy of greatness in Southern California. And if you get people when they're early, you can truly appreciate how wonderful they become and they grow as athletes and as human beings. And I've done 25 years of Roggin's Heroes, which is all high school stuff, because I believe that not only can we grow our audience selfishly, but it's an underserved portion of the audience. And I think you have to acknowledge these kids, because if you can succeed here and you can prosper here, you're not a great high school athlete. You're a great athlete, because this is one of the toughest places to succeed as an athlete in the country.
Fred, I talked about this before, but what I was excited about was the Eddie Murray situation a couple years ago. Here's a guy that really wasn't into the media, didn't like to be interviewed, but he was like a pup here. I mean, going back to his grassroots, the former great Lock baseball player who hit over 500 homers came alive in this situation.
No, he still scowled at me. He still scowled at me.
But didn't you think he came alive that night?
He really did. But you see, here's the thing. The people here tonight knew everyone before they became what they became. Does that make any sense? These are your real friends. These are the people that were with you from the beginning. These are the people that saw you in your infancy.
They saw Randy, too, in his infancy. But when do you sleep?
Why am I taking a beating like this?
I want to know, when do you sleep? When do you sleep? You're everywhere.
I work. You know what I do? I sleep 6.5 hours a night. I sleep 12:30 to 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm off and running again. I don't need a lot of sleep, Eric. Once I sleep, I'll have nothing to do, so I just keep going.
But who's starting at Westlake at point guard?
No.
It's Calabasas.
He can transfer. Westlake's got a better program.
No.
No. He did that once.
Yeah. No, he moved from Notre Dame to Calabasas.
All right, who do you want to meet here tonight of all the inductees?
Oh, my God.
All of them, probably.
Yeah, you know what? To be able to say hello to everybody is really, and I'm not over-exaggerating, a godsend. To spend time and say hello to these people that have meant so much to Southern California is really what this is about. And that's really why I do this event.
Fred, thanks for dropping by one. too, I really appreciate the fact, and you've been in the media a long time, that you stay with the preps and you love the preps.
We'll never give it up. We will never give it up. We believe it is what defines us as a television station in the sports genre. I'll just let you guys know this. In a world where everything is the same, nothing is ever different. If you cannot differentiate yourself and stand for something, you blend in. It's been 25 years that we have taken the approach that we're going to stand for high school athletics. And we will never surrender that and never give it up.
That's great.
That's great. That's Fred Roggin. You all know that. We'll be back right after this. Well, I like throwing to me, which is pretty cool. We're going to miss Fred Roggin on Channel 4. There's no question about that. Tonight is his final night on the air at KNBC. He has been a joy, and he's been great for Prep Sports.
Total legend. I think everyone knows Fred Roggin does the challenge on Sunday nights where all the high school athletes get some love. And look, I got to promo it. I get a chance to go on CBS Sports Central every Sunday, and I try and wiggle in there a sports coverage from the high school level every Sunday. So I love that Fred was so passionate about it, and I am too.
Sports coverage. How about lacrosse? You don't get that very often. Well, because of our friends at Pacific Surfliner, we're going to present Miracosta from the southern section against Palisades from the LA City section. That'll be the 17th of February, live at 6 o'clock. Palisades dominates the city. They win the title every year. No competition really, other than sometimes from Birmingham and El Camino. But Pali is the team in the city. But the southern section, Miracosta, that's going to be fun.
Look, lacrosse, I went to school in the Northeast. Lacrosse is huge. And it's great to see the sport growing here in Southern California. I think there's a thirst for it. There's a want for it. And, hey, for it to be on TV now, it's making strides.
I think it's going to be the first ever telecast. And I know there's been streaming, but I think it's going to be the first telecast, and we're thrilled to do it on air.
Very cool.
In Southern California. I don't think of a high school match. Let's keep it that way. Of high school. Speaking of high school, there's a great basketball game. Sierra Canyon, Notre Dame. I know you're going to be covering it.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, you have. And you're going to be thrilled to be watching these two teams because there's a lot at stake.
So, look, there's a little extra zest to this game. Because remember, Caleb Foster just got snubbed from being a McDonald's All-American and is deserving. He's going to Duke. Well, you know who is a McDonald's All-American? Bronny James of Sierra Canyon. So I got a chance to catch up with Caleb last night. And he said, yeah, that's going to add a little extra oomph to that game. So I'm expecting a little more juice to be in that game, other than the fact that, of course, it's at Pauley Pavilion. And Notre Dame Athletic Director Alec Moss told me they've sold just about 7,000 tickets. So there should be a good number on hand.
Does Hart have a chance against West Ranch? They're playing them at home. Hart's got a winning record.
Hart basketball?
Yeah.
No.
I knew you were going to say that, but I had to talk about it because it's really the one game on the schedule for West Ranch. When you look at the schedule, all right, let's do one better than that. Bishop Montgomery at St. Bernard. Does St. Bernard have a chance?
Now, that's a game, if I'm not mistaken, they played already
That's Monday.
this year.
That game's Monday.
I know, but they already, because they're in the same league, they already played again, and it was a close, I want to say like a 2-4-point game. St. Bernard just came up short. So that's a much better chance than Hart beating West Ranch.
I agree with you. So we know where you're going to be tomorrow night.
I will be at Pauley Pavilion.
It's an 8 o'clock tip?
8 o'clock tip. The Harvard Westlake Notre Dame girls, 6 o'clock. Doubleheader.
Should be fun.
Should be a lot of fun. Should be a good crowd. I expect, well, I don't know who's going to play. Bronny James may not play. If he plays, I expect LeBron to be there.
What about Elohim?
Elohim is more likely to play. I would say doubtful for Bronny, questionable for Elohim.
Both with knee issues. Also, we got one other girls' game to promote. There's a Saturday basketball game. We're going to have it live here at high noon. Rich Estrella, Bob Gibson on the call, Pacifica at Tustin. That's going to wrap up our show. Join us on that one, then again on Monday for the soccer match at 4:30 with Cerritos at San Pedro. For Tarek, I'm Randy. We'll see you next week live right here at 9 o'clock on SoCal Prep Report. Good evening, everybody.
You're watching LA 36.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Naiba Reynoso. Ahead, an animal adoption you don't want to miss. Plus, bringing the warmth of the season to the bedside. But first, Los Angeles County has declared a local emergency to combat the homeless crisis. The emergency declaration ushers a renewed sense of urgency with the focus on streamlining hiring, contracting, and procurement to rapidly move people off the streets and into shelter. Here's more.
This is a declaration of emergency on the state of homelessness in Los Angeles County to work